What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 1 of an 8-part podcast on how to build an eBay business with Tekken Sports. Tekken Sports, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction and tell us how long you've been selling on eBay?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Tekken Sports. I'm from the South Florida area. Been selling on eBay for about 10 years or so. Amazon for about 6 or 7 years.
That is amazing. So how did you get started on eBay?
I got started on eBay. I have a computer company that I also have. When I first started doing that, we would fix people's laptops. We would fix people's computers. Sometimes when the item wasn't fixable, I would give them a couple bucks and I would sell it on eBay. 10 years ago, that wasn't really going on very much. And I was able to sell that broken stuff as is for parts and really make a good amount of money. And then once I saw what you can do, I started branching out and doing more and more. But that's really how I got started.
So you figured out right away that do they sell for more money piece by piece than the whole thing?
At first I was doing piece by piece, but then I was just getting so much stuff. I would just sell a laptop as is. If it had a broken LCD, I would sell it, put it up for bid. And back then people weren't really doing it. I would have the only one on eBay and it would go for crazy money. And I guess whoever got it would then part it out themselves or repair it. And back then there wasn't a lot of competition for that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. And now what kind of items do you sell?
Now I've transitioned to more clothing and more things you can find at like thrift stores, garage sales, things like that. I still sell some broken items, but the game's not the same anymore.
Not the same as in like the profits are different or more competitive, or what do you think?
Yeah, the profits are different, more competitive. Now when something breaks, you just really throw it away. Everything's real replaceable now in that kind of field. I mean,
That's a
there's
great
still
point.
money, but it's not how it used to be.
That makes sense. And there's so much private label used for 1 year throwaway type of thing going
Right.
on. I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Right.
Okay, so obviously you do Amazon, but is eBay and Amazon the only things that you do?
Well, like I said, I have a computer repair business that I started about 11 years ago. I also have a networking company where we do maintenance on servers for businesses. Uh, I have a landscaping and lawn company. We have about 250 yards that we do maintenance every month. And I have a tree service where we trim, remove trees, remove stumps, things like that.
Wow. Okay, so this is one thing I think is really cool after getting to know you over the last couple of months. You have a lot of stuff going on. Are there days that you didn't have time to list?
All the businesses that I started from scratch. When I started my computer company, I was one guy doing the calls. Eventually I got more calls and more calls, hired a couple friends I went to school with, and then eventually handed it over to them. This whole time while I was starting the business, I was still listing. When I started the networking company, same thing. One call, 10 calls, 20 calls. Once it was too much, hire a couple guys, hand it off to them. For the lawns, I used to be out there working 12 hours a day in the sun and then come home and list on eBay all night. Same thing with the trees. I mean, my philosophy with the business, like it's great to have multiple businesses, but you can't let one fail just to start another. So everything that I do has to continue growing. I can't take away from one business because I want to do something else or because I want to list on eBay or something. To me, eBay is more of a hobby. I mean, some guys collect baseball cards, some guys like do other stuff. Like me, I just want to make a bunch of money. So like eBay, Amazon, that's all gravy, you know what I mean? But it is a lot of work, but that's how I look at it.
So this is a really, really good point because a lot of people, when they get to a level where they can hire someone, they actually replace themselves, and then they actually make less money in the first stage when they bring somebody on. But for you, you continue to grow the business even after getting somebody to help, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, don't get me wrong, to hire people costs a bunch of money. I mean, just for the ones I pay like $15,000 a month just on salaries, you know. And if you do the same thing to eBay, you could pay a guy $500 or $600 a week to help you all week, but if you're not doing enough volume, your employee can make more than you, and that's working backwards.
No, that's true. I see that happen to a lot of sellers when they're transitioning from, they maximize their time, and then when they hire someone, they actually stop working. So that,
Right,
it's not a supplemental; they just replace what they were doing, which is
right.
not necessarily how it works in the beginning. Um, so, can we go over how eBay helped your other businesses? You have sort of the hobby mentality of it, but you still take it extremely seriously.
Yeah, extremely. I mean, I try to maintain 100% positive feedback. I try to be as perfect as possible on Amazon, 100%. eBay, I've sold hundreds of thousands of items, and fortunately still got the 100%. So like, I do take it super seriously, just like everything else. But with eBay, it's like you can make so much money if you just get the experience and kind of get things streamlined and kind of know what to buy, know the price points. And like, I've bought in bucket trucks for my other companies that cost $100,000 with eBay money. So like, without that, I'm not cutting down trees, making good money. I'm still cutting grass. Grass is not really where the money is at. Trees are where the money is at. And without eBay or Amazon, maybe I don't have the money to buy the necessary equipment.
I think this is a great point, because the more money you have, the more options you have, the more things, the more projects you can start, and you need to start building up that bankroll to purchase things that improve. And I've noticed that with you, all the money that you use grows your business. It doesn't replace you. Your work ethic has remained the same this whole time.
Yeah, the same. There's no slowing down. Like, I'll probably never slow down, and it's not even really work. I mean, I wake up 6:30, take my son to school, and do everything I gotta do all day. Hang out with him when he comes home. Do what I gotta do in the nighttime. It's not really work if you like what you're doing. That's like the cliche thing, but like, I haven't taken a day off in 10 years because I don't really need a day off, because it's not like I'm struggling to do it every day. It's just what I like to do.
You're on vacation every day.
Yeah, pretty much. For 10 years, I haven't taken a single day off, so it's not like I'm dying.
I got you. So that's a great point you just brought up, which is you actually have a child. So people are saying it's difficult to do this with kids. What's your mentality, and does your day change because you have to work around your kid?
My son's 14 now, so I've been doing this since he was about 3 or 4 years old, just doing everything. I mean, there are times when it can be hard, but I've been super lucky with my son. He's always super mature, and I mean, he pretty much handles himself now that he's 14 years old. And like, it can be difficult, but it still can be done. You just gotta block your time correctly and just do the best that you can.
That's fair. So, a lot of people say eBay is too competitive. There's too many people on eBay and Amazon. It's too hard to get in. And I think it's awesome, your mentality on competition. Maybe you could speak to that for a second.
Well, like, I don't want to compete. I want to do the truly best that I possibly can. And the more items I have on eBay, the less I have to compete with people. If you have 12 items on eBay to compete with me, if I have, about 10,000 items, maybe 25,000, including Amazon, it's hard to compete with somebody like that. And for me to compete with someone who has millions, it's hard to compete. But like, I, I just want to slice the throats of the competition, whether it's lawns, computers, trees, eBay, Amazon. I really don't care. Um, I don't like have many friends like that do the same business as me, because it's like a conflict of interest. I can't be a friend with someone who also has a computer company, because I want to have all their accounts, and that's what I'm going to try to do.
This is something that a lot of successful people say, which is they dominate. They don't really compete. So whatever they're in, they get really, really good at it. And you had mentioned four things I think are really powerful, which is quality, quantity, speed, and consistency. So let's start with the first one. The quality of the item. When you look at your store on eBay, it's all good stuff. So how did you start to learn that? And have you found that you need to do more variety, or are you just buying the same things?
A little bit of both. I mean, you can't dominate by just going one way. So I do buy some brands that if I see it, I buy everything of. I do buy some brands that only certain things. So like if I was only buying certain things of one brand, I'm letting a lot of other stuff slip. I try to get, $30 average price on things from thrift stores and garage sales, things like that. But as you get bigger, sometimes the margins start getting a little smaller. So there are a couple things where like I'll spend $1 and make 20. But if I spend $5 or so, I got to make 30 bucks. I rarely have to spend over $10 an item. So, I mean, the margins are really good for Amazon and eBay. And that's kind of what has drawn me to do it so much, because you can't get that return on investment anywhere. And as far as like the quality, that just comes with experience. It comes with doing it for 10 years. And every year I learn 2 or 3 or 4 different brands that I add and just continue to keep growing.
That's awesome. I think that you're you're dedicated to improving the quality. So like, and that may be more of the same item, or specifically learning a different niche, or learning some brands are not created equal. Not everything in some brands sells well.
Right. Like whether it's clothing, whether it's a hard good, whether it's a board game, whether it's a toy, doesn't matter. I'll buy it, I'll sell it, and make some money on it. And with each category, guys like to, niche down into only clothing or only baseball cards or only, I mean, why can't you have 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 different niches that you're going hard in?
When you're tackling a new niche, do you do actually? It seems like you're sort of slowly investigating everything. Is that how you? How do you approach getting 10 to 15 niches? I feel the same way, but I feel like a lot of people are overwhelmed. Especially when they get started. Do you recommend people just start with one niche?
Well, like when I started with electronics. So when I eventually moved on from that, I still have that electronics knowledge. So then I moved to clothing, and then I gain all the knowledge in clothing. And then once you do this for so long, you start to get an eye for items that are expensive when they're at the store or are well made. And then you'll see something and you'll say, hey, this isn't like everything else. And then you look at it, you learn about it. And I mean, the biggest thing in this business, there's 2 things in this business. You can't walk past something that is going to make you money, and you have to have a good memory. Like I have a pretty good memory, and whenever I see something, I know instantly, oh, I've sold that before for 75 bucks, or oh, I've sold that for 25 bucks. And if you could just fine tune those 2 things, not to walk past something that can make you money, and just try to remember as much as possible about your items, I mean, the success you can see is just, it's limitless after that.
Okay, so let's talk about quantity, which is the second part. So now you found something that sells. There are people that find a hot toy and then they drive to 100 different Walmarts and get all of them. Is that how do you focus on now you know what to sell? How do you get more of it?
Yeah, the driving around the stores and stuff, that's not my game. I don't do that. As far as the quantity, it's just about hitting as many stores as you can 7 days a week and buying everything that you can. I mean, there are guys who do the same thing that I do locally, but there's probably other guys who hit the stores around here and say, well, my stores never have anything. Maybe they come the day after me, or you know what I mean. But it's just about getting as much as you can for the right price, 7 days a week, and just that's my philosophy. I want to get everything.
So when you're going on your route and you talk to I'm assuming people start to recognize you. Do are you working out deals with them, or is it just sort of a straightforward? Do they hold stuff for you? How does the relationship mature over time on your route?
I mean, relationship building, that's not something that I'm good at. Like I said before, if you're in the same business as me, I might say what's up, but I just keep my head down, keep it rolling. I go through fast, get the stuff, I'm out. I don't have any relationships with managers who hold stuff or anything like that. That's not really my strong point. My strong point is just going fast, getting the stuff onto the next one. While, people may spend an hour talking to a manager, I hit 4 or 5 stores in that time.
I got you. And it's just pure hustle. I love this because I have noticed right away going to 2 or 3 or 4 more stores, you get so much more selection. Um, and I think that the way that you just mentioned it, if you're looking for specific items where you're not walking past other things and you go straight there, so how many hours do you think you would say you source per week?
Um, Maybe Monday through Friday, probably 2 hours a day. And then Saturday or Sunday, the garage sales, I probably go from like 6 to 12 on Saturday and Sunday. So that's about right.
Gotcha. So, and do you have any tactics for garage sales and yard sales? Do you also do estate sales?
No, no estate sales. Just go there ready to rock and roll, man. That's all you could do.
Do you map it out the night before?
Uh, sometimes I just drive around and see what's out there. But for the most part, the garage sales that's where the home runs come. That's where like the big deals come. You're not going to buy a lot of bulk at thrift stores. Last weekend there was a representative for a clothing company. He had a couple pieces out. I bought it, and he opens up his garage and he had 1,200 more pieces that he sold me for $3 each that are going to come back between $30 and $60 each. I listed them yesterday. I already sold two. So going out there, that's where you're going to find your home runs. At the thrift store, it's just the bread and butter stuff most of the time.
This is something I think is very unique about you, which, when I did the homework on the top 100 eBay stores, 86 of them have ASP or average sale price of $15 or less. So they're selling stuff to common people. I think that you are very smart because you're selling things that are $30 and like you have stuff that's $30. It's not all expensive stuff in your store.
Right. My average sale price is $35. For the last few years since I've started focusing more on clothing, it's been around $35. To me, I mean, things at a thrift store is going to be around $30 or under. People maybe are more hesitant to donate something that's worth $50 or $100. To them, they can say, well, maybe I can sell this at a garage sale, or maybe I can hold on to it. I think like the sweet spot for thrift stores is really around $30. I think people are okay with donating an item worth $30.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's move to the third one now, which is speed. So now you know quality, quantity. You definitely have a focus on speed in everything that you do. So do you just look at things like how can I do this faster, or are you just really focused? How are you able to do things quickly?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I get a lot of people who send me messages on Instagram and say, "Hey, it takes me 4 hours to pack 15 items or something like that," or it takes me, all day to list 20 items. And maybe when you're a beginner and you're starting out, hey, that's fine, that's great. But I mean, maybe just with the experience, you just get a little quicker. I mean, for packing, to pack 125 items or so, I wake up at 6:30, take my son to school. I'm done by 10:30, 11 o'clock packing. I mean, I really don't know how to explain how to pack fast. It's just, I mean, I'm not like BSing watching TV or doing this or doing this. I'm just packing, getting it done, or just listening, getting it done. I'm not procrastinating, or I don't have things distracting me.
I think this is cool because when I asked you how much TV do you watch?
I mean, the only time I ever see the TV is when I get into bed and my wife's already watching something and I'm going to sleep. So maybe 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge hack. If people are like, as an example, Stranger Things was this like crazy show or whatever. It's really popular. I watched one episode with my girlfriend, and then I just read the summaries because I didn't want to waste time watching the whole thing because it takes up so much of your day in that
But,
10-hour
but like,
series.
but like for me, I think since from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm constantly multitasking and doing other stuff. For me to watch one thing or to watch a movie, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
That is that is really cool. So let's talk about listing because or, how many listings can you get up in? You do the same amount of listing per day, hour wise, right? Like you spend the same amount of time, roughly.
It just depends how I'm feeling. At the minimum, I'll get 50 listings up. If I'm feeling froggy, I'll do 100, but at the minimum, 50 every day.
Awesome. So on this 50 listings, let's say how long would that take you to do 50?
To photograph, maybe 20 minutes or so. To measure, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And then just computer time, I can knock those out in 1 hour.
See, there's a lot of people I think that are focused too much in maybe too much on what would you say is the reason most people can only get up 5 listings in the same time you do 50?
Well, it's either one or two things. It's either they're trying to be perfect or they're new and doing research.
That's the key. I think that the research part really, really slows you down. You can easily spend half an hour researching one item.
Right. And, after doing it for so long, I mean, maybe one or two items a week I'll have to look up, and it takes 30 seconds to do that. So you figure if I list 50 items on the low end per week, that's 350 items, maybe one or two I have to look up.
Okay. And one more question on the listing part. Um, you you batch the processes. So as far as photography, measurements, oh, this is the part I wanted to ask. You had mentioned something to me that was pretty interesting, which is quality control. In your process, you actually look over the item multiple times.
Right. I look over it once at the store when I'm getting it. When I take it home and do the photos, you get a good view of the front and back. When you measure, you get also another good view of the front and the back. And then when you list it, I have it to my left. I look at it. I'm doing the listing. When I am done, I put it to my right, and I can look at the back again. So, I'm really getting 4 or 5 really good looks at the item, to prevent people from getting something that's not as described.
Do you have a lot of returns?
No, not really. I mean, if I sell 125 items a day, I might get one return every other day.
So is it mainly in those returns? What would be the reason people return things?
For clothing, item doesn't fit. A guy will return a shirt saying it's not blue, it's seafoam. Every now and then you'll get an item not as described, but it is what it is.
So this is really staggering. You've done over 100,000 transactions on eBay. You still have perfect feedback. How do you deal with customers who are upset, or I'm sure occasionally something happens? How do you maintain that?
The biggest thing with dealing with an upset customer is the second they send the email, you send a reply 5 seconds later. And that stems all the doubt that you're trying to scam them, that you're trying to pull something on them. As soon as I get the email, it comes right to my phone. You've probably heard a couple of them so far. Every time that happens, that's a sale or a message or something. As soon as I get the email of a customer upset, I stop what I'm doing, reply immediately, tell them I offer, 100% full refund, free returns. I'll be happy to send them a prepaid shipping label and, get them taken care of. And I tell them they won't be out a single penny and we'll be all good.
And is each one of those situations different, or do you copy and paste like a specific answer?
No, I don't have anything copy and pasted, but, you just type up, hey there, thanks for the message. I apologize you're having trouble with the item or whatever. I offer a very generous 30-day free return policy on all of my items for any reason at all. I'd be happy to send you a prepaid shipping label and get you all squared away. Thanks again. That's it.
Do you have any tips for listing? I know there's one thing that I want to mention, which I think you do the majority of your listing on a computer and a camera.
Yeah, I have a little point and shoot camera, nothing fancy, and all the listing I've ever done is from the computer because when I started, they didn't have the phone app. But yeah, I do it all from the computer.
I think that's a huge time advantage. Do you have also a fast internet connection? Oh, actually, no, I'm going to point that out. It doesn't matter what your internet connection speed is with your system, right?
Yeah, because even if the pictures are going slow, I'll just start another one and start another one. And, usually I list 3 or 4 items at the same time and just keep going back and forth. And, it averages out about a minute each.
I have noticed that because you've sent me some screenshots of your computer looking at, like, it really is happening. Like, there's no BS. There's a listing going up every minute.
Oh, yeah. And I've been doing Instagram stories for about the last month because I keep getting the question of how do you sell so much? How do you list so much? I show it every single day. I list 50 items and you can look at the timestamp. It's 5:55, 5:56, 5:57,
Yeah, and I think that A lot of people get hung up maybe not opening a second tab, third tab, fourth tab with the new listing and starting to build that. And one thing that I want to point out is if you're listing on mobile, you can't do anything while the pictures are loading.
Yeah, I have no idea about the mobile platform. I know for me, from my setup for listing, I have my own store open. I
Hmm.
have eBay.com open, and I have the new tabs that I'm working on. So I always have several tabs open.
Okay, now let's talk about the final one, which I think is maybe the most critical part of your system, which is consistency. Um, this is something that I think it make or breaks most people. So, how do you stay consistent? What is your how do you think of it schedule wise? How do you are you able to do this for such a long time?
There was a guy when I was younger, and he used to work so hard. He came from nothing. He came from Haiti, and he told me he made $4 a day back in Haiti. And he said, I said, why do you work 7 days a week? You don't need no break. And he told me, hey, bills come every day. And that's the truth, man. Bills come every day, so the money got to come every day. And if you can find 6 different ways how to get money every single day, then you're winning, you know?
For sure. So there's a lot of newbies out there, and the focus of our podcast for these 8 episodes is to help people really get started. And I think um, there are some people that say if you want to make it as a reseller, you only need these home run items. So I'm hoping that you can talk a little bit about this because I don't see a lot of people who are doing only home runs succeeding.
If I can do all the home runs, that would be great. But I mean, up until this point, I haven't been able to figure out that business model. But it's just about the $30 average sale price sprinkled in the home runs that sell for 100 plus. I mean, I don't know any other way to really get consistency. And with doing it that way, like my numbers are pretty consistent week to week, month to month. If you were depending on home runs, maybe you don't sell nothing today. And for me, I'll sell $130 t-shirts before I sell one $300 t-shirt. So it's two different games, you know?
No, I think that that's important because you don't have a cash flow problem.
Well, it's two different games, and why not play both, you know?
I just think that sometimes people, well, if you're playing only the home run game, sometimes you just run out of money. You can't buy anything that day until something else sells. And if you're selling all these $30 items, you're to the point now where the money coming in is more than you can even spend that day
Yeah.
sourcing.
Yeah. It's been like that for a long time. I mean, I wish I can turn around and spend it on stuff, but there's really there's it's impossible.
Okay, so people, if they focus on items that are $30 ASP, I noticed you mentioned something really important, which is you'll spend up to 10, but rarely 10. So that means you're not afraid to pay up if you think it's going to sell quickly, right?
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes a jacket will be $10. Hey, no problem. But rarely do I have to spend more than $10. Every now and then something will come $20 or something like that, and I have no problem spending it. But you know just at the thrift stores around here or at garage sales, things like that, you don't have to spend big money. You can spend a couple bucks and make a bunch of money. Um, but if there are items that have a higher cost, then it's no problem.
Sounds good. So you have your eBay businesses, and this is the thing that you've taught me that I think is the most valuable thing ever for me personally, which is you don't let any of your other businesses drop when you're working on them because there's always the saying multiple streams of income, but if you're not growing you're dying, and if you don't grow your business literally, um, there's I guess it's just easy to let one business fall as the other one is starting to grow, especially in the beginning. So how did you, or I guess you had said something about just staying up.
Yeah, I mean, when I was first getting started, let's say I was doing lawns or whatever, I would do them from sun up to sundown. So get there at 7, come home at 6. Gotta check on the computer stuff. Gotta check with the networking guys. Okay, it's 8 or 9 o'clock. Go to sleep, or no? I got a list. I got a list till 1, 2 a.m. sometimes, and there were times for probably 3 or 4 or 5 years where I was really grinding for 18 hours a day for years, you know. But now I just go around the thrift stores, talk to the guys at lunchtime, collect some checks from those guys, and you know, list on eBay. So now things are pretty good, you know, until I start the next thing. But um, now things are pretty good. But in the beginning, I won't lie, it was difficult, it was hard, and it sucked. But now my son goes to the best schools, and I got everything that I need and anything that I could ever ask for, you know.
So I think this is really powerful because right now we are in an economy where most people are underemployed. So they're not making as much money as maybe their degree um, needs to. So I think it's pretty powerful. Let's say somebody, because looking at your schedule, you're not even spending that much time. In theory, you could do what you're doing and have a full-time job almost.
Yeah, I mean, right now I probably do 2 hours of sourcing, an hour and a half of listing and measurement. So I was at 3.5 hours, and then
Mhm.
another 2 hours of packing. So that's 5.5 hours a day that I do eBay and Amazon stuff.
So how did you, there's people, I love your mentality because some people are like, well, I'm gonna do eBay or Amazon, and they don't recognize they can do both.
Yeah, I mean, it's two totally different games. I mean, it took me 2 years to really figure out Amazon. Um, it's a totally different game than eBay. eBay, like I said, I want to sell something for $30 and make about $20 profit, $25 profit. Amazon, that's a different game. I'll make $10 on something, but I'll buy, you know, a couple hundred of them, and you don't have to do the work, and all those, and it will sell 20, 30 times a day, and you make $10 each time. So it's two totally different games, but you can get stuck on Amazon. I did a little bit in the beginning, a couple times, but once you figure it out and you learn it, it's a good tool to have.
When you were getting started on Amazon for those 2 years, did your eBay business suffer at all?
No, but I did treat Amazon like eBay. If I saw there was a profit, I would buy it. I didn't care about sales rank or things like that. But back then, they didn't have storage fees. They didn't care. You can have something there for 5 years. It doesn't matter. You pay cents. Really, in the last couple of years, they started hitting you if you had slow moving stuff. And that's when I really had to say, well, you know, we got to make a change here. And I started really focusing on sales rank. And now I'm making even more money than I was back then because I figured out the sales rank, figured out how to get items that move fast, and you know, especially in fourth quarter, you can really do some damage over there.
I want to speak a little bit to your mentality of growth because you're at the point now where you're already comfortable. You've been comfortable for a while, but you're still grinding, and then you're still working and you're still improving and getting better and learning and helping other people. So how did you maintain the mentality, or is it just the thought bills come every day?
I mean, when I grew up, I didn't really have much. My mom was a single mom. She was a waitress, me and my brother. So like right now, even if I got what I have in my head, I don't really make a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's just a number on a piece of paper. I don't live big. I don't do stuff like that. I mean, probably, I mean, I have a nice house. That's the nicest thing I got. But other than that, like I'm not balling out of control or things like that. I still have the mentality of, you know, I haven't even thought that I made it or anything like that. I'm not even close to that yet.
Got you. So do you have any specific, I mean, at your point, do you have ambitions to do anything larger with your eBay or Amazon, or are you just sort of cruising?
You know, just cruising, but every year I want to do 50% more than I did the year before. That's my goal for eBay and Amazon. And in order to do that, you gotta buy more stuff, list more stuff.
I love that. I love that cruising is a 50% increase. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your lawn care maintenance company. You manage people for that. So
Yeah.
how does that work?
Got 7 guys currently, but you know, it started with one guy helping me. Then I got 2 guys and 3 guys. But right now they go out and do the work. If someone calls out sick, I'm out there. You know, if they need me for a big job, I'm out there. But for the most part, they got that under control. Customers speak to me. I handle the scheduling, things like that. For the trees, I got 3 guys, but it's the same thing. I handle the scheduling. They go out. Um, that's pretty much how it is for all the businesses. But if someone is sick or doesn't come or something like that, then I jump in if it's needed.
Is it difficult for you to work with? Some people say it's hard to hire people. Are you hiring people you know? Is it family? How are you finding these people to work for you?
For the computers, it was friends. For the other ones, the lawns and stuff, I got lucky and got a real good guy the first time. So it's been friends of his.
Oh, okay. And I think that that's a really powerful way to scale. Just one person that can you can trust in the beginning really helps out.
Yeah, and when I did leave, that guy took my place. So like he was the jefe of the crew, and and I mean, he's 40 years old. He has way more experience than me. You know what I mean? Half the time he was telling me what to do, but it was all learning process.
So are you afraid to hire people better than you?
And nobody better than me. Nobody.
Oh, I was just one because, like you said, that this guy has more experience than you, but I love it. So,
No,
um,
he might have more experience, but I'll outwork him.
that's so cool. I love it. I love the fact that you're just really focused on out hustle. I mean, just doing the best you can, which is so important. You're not worried about other people. You're not worried about how other people view you. Um,
No, and like even when I jump in on the trees or something, let's say we're cutting down a big tree, like I don't come to work like, oh, the big boss, let me grab this and let me take the easy job. Nope. I drag branches. I'm the bottom man when I go in because I want those guys to see that I'm out there working hard, hard, hard. So like if I gotta tell them, hey man, come on, we need a little more. Can't say anything, because I'm out there taking the low man job every single time I go out. Because I want to go out, take the low man job, because the low man today, he gets a break. He can take it a little more easy today. And I think that goes a long way when you're supposedly like, oh, the big guy.
you're leading by doing. I
Yeah.
mean, they really can't complain if you get in there and get your hands dirty. Then they're like, well, if the boss is going to do it, then I've got to do it. He's has
Yeah,
certain
absolutely.
expectations.
That's like the guy who owns a restaurant. He goes and cleans the bathroom. If he tells you next time, then you got to do it because he's already done it.
So, how do you feel about people saying that they want to get into categories that are more difficult to get into?
Like which kind of categories?
Like, let's say, for example, like selling tractors. That's like a more difficult category to get into, but there's less competition per se getting into it. And the reason why I asked that is because, um, let's say thrifting is not your jam. What else could people do to start getting inventory?
Right. There's stuff everywhere. You could do garage sales, you could do flea markets, you could do Craigslist, and I mean, you could do Craigslist and find furniture or something. It's just whatever you like. I mean, to me, I like making money, so it doesn't matter what the object is.
Okay, let's talk about attention to detail because I think, well, first of all, you actually respond to all your customer service issues on eBay, which is amazing because you have that human element, and it's really hard to leave a human being a feedback, negative feedback, but it's really easy to leave a robotic. Thank you for your response. We'll respond in 48 hours. You're going to leave that person a negative because that's not human. Um,
Right.
but I was thinking your attention to detail is like off the charts. So when you're doing stuff, do you just notice everything?
I'm really not sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It's just second nature to you.
yeah, that's not something that I really worry about. So I guess it's just something that I do naturally.
Gotcha. And over the years, over the last 10 years, would you say each year you're better at all these businesses?
Yeah, if not, I'm going backwards, of course.
And okay, this is the reason why I asked that is there's a lot of resellers that I have met this year that are doing the same thing and expecting the same results, and that's not the case. If you do the same thing, it's almost guaranteed to decline.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Because the market's getting more competitive. There's more and more resellers. Oh, actually, let's talk about that. Originally, I had asked you, with all these clothing sellers, has your business gone down? And you said no.
No, because Back in the day, 10 years ago, you go to a thrift store, I used to leave it 3, 4 carts and everything was $1. You only have to do that once a week and you got enough inventory to last you for the week. Now you just got to go to more stores. You just got to wake up earlier or go later or go more often. You just got to do what you got to do. You can't make an excuse on why you can't hang.
What's your opinion on shopping at the bins?
I've been there once. Um, it's not really for me. I know some guys over there who do very well, but it's just too disorganized for me, and I don't really do good in that type of situation. It's just, I don't know. It's not my thing.
Because I have noticed, so I forgot to clarify, the bins is like a weigh and pay situation. There are a lot of thrift stores that, that's sort of their outlet for selling stuff by the pound. But a lot of people I've met have had a much more success selling at retail thrift because it's more organized, what you just mentioned.
It's more organized, and in my experience at the bins or my bin locally, everything there will have a stain or a hole or a flaw. And I've seen some really good stuff taken from there, even with flaws. But it'll be like a concert shirt or like a rap shirt or something, and that really doesn't make too much of a difference. But like, if you're looking for stuff like a polo shirt or something, and it's got a stain or a hole, then it's no good after that.
Okay, so let's talk about somebody who's just getting started. They're at their job, they're not making enough money, they want to get started. How do you've never resold before? What would you do first if let's say you had $200 or $500 or 1,000 to start?
I mean, a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, how do I learn how to do this?" To me, the best way to learn is by doing it. Go to a thrift store. If you think something's cool, chances are someone else will also think it's cool. Um, the cost to entry is so low in the eBay business. If you bought 30 items and spent $200 or bought 20 items and spent $200, 9 times out of 10, when you leave a thrift store, you'll have one item that will pay for the whole lot, or 2 or 3 items that will pay for the whole lot. And that makes the other 25 or 26 pure profit. And with that kind of scenario and that kind of business, I mean, as long as you get the items on eBay, I mean, that's 99%. You can't just sit them in a corner. As long as you get them on eBay, it's really like a fail-proof system when you can spend $100 at a thrift store and buy 15 items and 2 items pay for the whole lot. I mean, I don't see, but you got to get them on eBay. If you don't get them on eBay, they're not going to sell.
So you've been doing business for over a decade. What other business can you start for $300?
Oh, man. Well, you can't start trees because that's expensive business. You can't start lawns. That's an expensive business. I guess for $300.
Not really. This is it.
Yeah.
And this the part that I like most about reselling is it's not multi-level marketing. You don't have to involve other people. You can control like exactly how much money you make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to make a couple $100, put up, I don't know, 15 items a day, 10 items a day. If you want to make a bunch of money, then put up more items. I mean, eBay success is a direct result of what you've done the days and the weeks before. So I know tomorrow if I want to sell a couple $1,000s on eBay, I got to list 100 items or I got to list 50 items. If I want to sell $200 on eBay, I got to list, handful of items or 10 items or 15 items, eBay is a direct result of the work that you put in because you got to go get the stuff. You got to list it. You got to take the photographs. And if you want to make a lot of money, you got to get a lot of stuff. If you want to make a little bit of money, you got to get a little bit of stuff. So to each their own. If you want to do it on the side or if you're content with, paying the bills and hanging out, there's nothing wrong with that.
One thing I want to mention is I was looking at BHFO. They're one of the larger clothing sellers at 40 million or something. And I was looking at the way they started and they basically got to $20,000 a month in their house by themselves. So people are saying that they need help right away. I don't necessarily think so. That's just 2 people that were able to get to that just in their house selling random stuff.
Yeah, 20,000 a month with 1 or 2 people. that shouldn't be a big issue at all.
And both of them were working.
Yeah,
So they just
yeah, it's
hustled.
fully possible. Yeah,
They just
that's no,
hustled. They just did
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's no problem at all.
Okay. So I think this is really special, guys. If you want to follow us in the rest of these episodes, we're going to be doing an 8-part series, just going over how to learn how to source, how to go over pricing, how to search souls, these kind of critical things. And we're also available if you guys want to reach out to us and ask specific questions. It's better if you ask something specific so we can give you more directed help. And that did not exist. Really, when I started reselling, I got lucky because there's so many resources online. When you got started, how many resources were there for you to learn?
Nothing, man. Nothing. There was like one guy on YouTube doing it. But even back then, like, took you like 4 days to upload a video, so there wasn't really much going on.
So that's the last thing that I want to end on is the continuous learning thing. You're on Instagram sometimes too, and when you're looking for ways. From what I can see, you're looking for ways to improve your business.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to do 7 more of these. Let us know. Reach out to us on Instagram at Tech and Sports or 10K on the Bay, and we will help us direct the content that you guys get in these podcasts. And thanks for joining us.
All right, see you.